let me announce that we have actually started. Okay. 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 Let me close this, and find correct. We are live. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let us know, as I'm always saying, if the video quality of my end is good, so we can actually start the interview. I know my mic is not that loud, so please do not let me know about that. I know I'm still trying to figure out. It's probably OBS. But yeah, I will try to talk louder, and hopefully our guest here won't have ear rape by my voice that it's so loud. Okay.
It's fine.
Okay. Let me know, guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, that my video quality is good. Hölgyek, urak, kérlek szépen tudassátok velem, hogy jó-e a minősége a streamnek. Jó, és akkor belekezdünk a mai epizódba. Let me know. Hopefully there is no lag on my end. Minden jó? Biztos? Hang is? Lehet hallani egyébként? Most próbálok hangosabban beszélni. Minden is pacek? Jó. Okay. Let me know then if we can start, if it's okay to you to start as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome everyone at my very new episode of Dev Live Show. I'm here today joined with Robert, and I'm very thankful and very honored that you joined us for today's episode. And like I'm always saying, let's start with a little bit of introduction. So please introduce yourself for us.
My name's Robert Hightower. I am an independent game developer. Most recently, I made Dream Warrior, which is a retro roguelike RPG. Only instead of a great hero, you play the town drunk. Just released on Steam. I've also made a number of jam games. I've got a permanently in development game called Arbitology Dei Gratia Rex. You probably heard about that one, if anything.
Yeah.
And really, that's the most interesting bits.
Okay. Thank you for that introduction. Okay, so I'm always interested in people's origin stories when it comes to video games as well. So what was your very first contact with video games, if you can remember those times of yours?
Now, I do not personally remember this one, but there is a story. Apparently, when I was just an infant, my mom had me at a grocery store or something, and I saw an arcade cabinet for Pac-Man, and I just exclaimed, "Pac-Man!" and almost jumped out of her arms to try to get to the Pac-Man. So that's apparently my origin story. I cannot confirm or deny, but I believe it.
I see. Okay.
After that, 1989, I got my first Nintendo, played a lot of the classic NES games, and knew right away that that's what I wanted to do.
I see. Okay. So you were saying that you always had this dream of yours that you are not just into like loving video games and playing them, but you always wanted to make video games as well?
Yeah, it's one of those weird things. I love playing the games, obviously from the beginning, but there was always something that I would want to add or something I want to tweak or something like that. And I knew, right away that I wanted to be part of that process.
Okay. And when was the first transition and the first step of your life that you really went into making games?
So probably flash forward to 1997, I learned C with the goal of making an RPG, actually. That did not happen. But I did learn the language, and it just sort of went on from there. I made a couple of other attempted things, didn't really go anywhere until probably 2016 or 17, I got serious about it.
Have you been missing, by the way, that feeling of not finishing or making
yes,
any games come to life fully?
Yeah, that's been a big problem for me, just the whole time.
I see.
In the previous time, I think I completed like 2 games, one of which no one will ever play. It's never left my hard drive. But then last year,
those, like, come on, like,
no one would like it. It's like a 5-minute long game. But last year, I really decided it was time to finish games, and I finished 4 games last year. All little jam games, but some of them came out pretty good. And then I continued developing one of them after the jam, and that one was Dream Warrior.
I see. Okay. And so during the development process, and you as you became a developer yourself and started really making games, how have you like changed as a person in other territories of your life, and what skills have you picked up in other territories of your life?
As for the first part, I'm not really sure I've changed too much, just because it's always been with me in some form or another. But I have learned the business stuff, the marketing stuff.
Okay.
Was it hard? That's something. Yeah, it was. Or it's not so much that it was hard; it's just that there's so much of it.
I see.
There's always something that I feel like I'm forgetting, and a form, a filing that I have to do. It's just, or even just like going through the process of making the Steam page. You don't know how many assets you have to have prepared to put on the store page. You don't have like all of these forms. There's like 5 pages. It's that's a skill, and that's a skill I did not have before I started doing this.
It's scary, by the way, for the first time.
Yeah, a little bit. Just because there's so much stuff.
I see. Okay. And so when like you first started making Dream Warrior, what was the influence behind that game?
So that was part of Gaming World Jam originally. They're an ancient internet forum that reorganized on Discord recently, and they had some game jams. And the theme of that one was dreams. Unfortunately, I already did a dream game earlier that year with Dreams of Gold. So I thought, okay, how can I approach this? And then I randomly remembered an episode in Dragon Quest VII about the character's drunken uncle. So I'm like, oh, okay, did they call him Dream Warrior in that? Oh, okay, so what about I make a game about Hondara? So I did. I just, had a legally distinct Hondara. I think in the remake they call them Pike or something like that. I can't keep track of the localization.
Okay, I see. And so when we were also talking about it in before our interview, that you are also like making another game that you mentioned in the introduction sequence. So it's like your bigger game that you're working on now. So is it connected? Like, is it in the same universe with Dream Warrior?
No. Armatology de Gratiarex is very historical.
I see.
So probably too historical, to the point that I actually was talking to academics in the field.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I've got a whole hard drive, like several gigabytes of academic essays, just to get all the details right. I wish I had talked to Vlad before this up, but I actually have a piece. Every detail is someone's thesis that appeared in a mostly German language book recently. I think the end of last year. I'll have to run that one down, but yeah. So everything in that game is historical insofar as I can make it. But Dream Warrior is just a fantasy game.
I see. Okay. And what made you switch like from a fantasy game, to a real life event happening story oriented game?
Largely largely the fact I can make it up as I go along. That is an incredible amount of research to do.
Yeah, but it's a unique game. Like I barely saw something similar to that idea of yours. So what was the influence, and so do you like history that much that you want?
Oh yeah, I really love history. I do. It's one of the things I really enjoy. Okay. Not that I dislike fantasy. It's just I find history more compelling.
I see.
But what originally brought that about is the manuscripts themselves. I think is the best answer to that, because there's just something very compelling about those illuminated manuscripts, and I thought, what would it be like to play a game where it is the manuscript?
I see.
So that's I think ultimately what got me going on that one.
Okay. Okay. Did you want it to have choices that like can affect history in a very like different way that it actually happened?
Yes, yes. I think going a little bit further back, I played this game called King of Dragon Pass.
Okay.
Very cult classic. Not a whole lot of people know it, but it's actually a fantasy game, but it's a lot like that. There are choices, and they affect your Bronze Age clan. So I thought, what about that, but history? And then I played Crusader Kings 2, and I thought, oh, okay, what if I make Crusader Kings 2 event chains the video game?
I see.
And that's kind of what I did.
Okay. Okay. And so when designing the characters, did you want it to add characters that might not have been in history books as well?
Yes. So what I actually did was I went for an alt-historical scenario on that one. I took the main point of departure of William the Conqueror not surviving Hastings. So he actually had an incomplete conquest, and then I could have a point of divergence, and then have procedurally generated characters and what have you, without having too much of a problem. So I have a list of historical characters, and then I can freely diverge.
Oh, okay. I see. I see. I see. And how many options did you want it to add with this, method that you are using to make?
Options for characters, or
no, for choices. For choices.
oh yeah.
Is it like unlimited, or is it like limited, for example, to 10 or 12 or 20?
I think I could support up to 14. I don't know how many I usually do. It's usually in the
Is
2
it
to
like
5.
for all choices in the game that there are like 14 options, or?
Oh no. Most of them are 2 to 5, I would
Oh,
say.
okay. 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 I see, I
But
see.
some of them a lot more.
Okay. Okay. So there is a huge replayability if I can get it right.
Yes.
About your game. Okay. Okay. So you
If
really can change the history in that game.
yes.
Okay. I see.
One thing, like if you play Crusader Kings 2, you have kind of like a graphical interface to it. So imagine if you were playing Crusader Kings 2, but you have a text interface, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. So there's a large divergence through the choices.
I see. I see. Do you have like a favorite path so far with your choices?
It's kind of funny to say, but trying to play the King Louis path, where you play the Holy King, is a lot more rewarding.
Okay.
At least for me, anyway. I think other people might have a different opinion.
I see. Okay. So I'm always saying this statement of mine that I believe that all of us creators who make any forms of art are willing to put, even if not on an intentional level, but are willing to put their soul, their heart, their experiences into games. Is that true for you as well?
Yeah, I think that's unavoidable in a certain way, isn't it? It's who we are kind of comes out in what we do.
Okay. And what examples could you mention, without spoilers, of course, if we mention, even if it's your game Dream Warrior, even if it's the upcoming game of yours? Or any other games from the past?
Yeah, I mean, I think with Dream Warrior in particular, I was having I don't know. I was trying to just have fun with it. So everything there is a joke, whether it's intended to be or not. And I've seen some people play it, and they find stuff that I didn't even mean to put in there, but it was still part of the theme. On the other hand, I kind of made Dreams of Gold, which was one of my jam games, kind of as a form of therapy, I guess you could say. So that one came out a little bit unpleasant. That's just, I guess, how my mind was when I was making it.
I see. But it's a good thing, right? So it's
oh yeah. So I mean, sometimes you'll have things that just need to come out, whether they're good or bad.
True. Okay. By the way, do you feel like in Dream Warrior there's a message that every one of us can be your hero, even if it's a drunken hero?
Yes, and if you and I don't know if anyone's actually done this, but you follow it out to the conclusion where you unlock all the characters and you get the fourth ending and all that. It actually ends on a hopeful note. So
Okay, I
you,
didn't
you
know
start
that.
out with, yeah. I mean, I think I might have hidden it too well because I don't think anyone's done that yet. But the whole point is, you start as the drunkard, you kind of reform, and you find hope in the end.
Okay.
But you know, I guess that's a spoiler that no one's going to see because no one's gonna go through that far.
Hopefully, okay, I will do that on my stream. I will try to,
Oh, okay. Well,
find
thank
all
you.
the endings and all the secrets in order to have that. Okay, 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 okay.
Let me know if you need some tips. I'll give you
Okay, okay, I will
yeah,
make sure.
the method.
Yeah, okay. By the way, so you were saying that like you are working on this historical game of yours, but like, do you have any other ideas for the future that you would like to use as future game ideas and to work on?
Oh yes. I've got like a whole wiki. I've got like
Oh, okay, okay.
probably
So
two
many,
two
like a
dozen.
list.
Yeah.
Okay, 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 okay.
I will die before half of those are done. I'm not getting any younger.
Oh, okay. It's a lot of games then. Okay, okay.
Yes.
Are there like very different genres and
Probably not too far. Like I do want to kind of combine the historical and then like the engine I did with Dream Warrior and have
I see.
something based on the Voyage of Saint Brendan the Abbot. It was like an Irish thing where they all go out into the ocean and have all of these adventures and come back. And I thought, oh, that would work great with Dream Warrior's map, and it would be a historical thing like DGRs. So that's something I might try soon.
Okay, okay. So let me get this straight. Are you like making all parts of your games alone, right? So am I right about
Um,
that?
so with Dream Warrior, I use some assets from
Okay.
Itch, but otherwise I made it myself. With Arbitel GDE Gratier X, I actually worked with an artist, and you can
Oh,
really
okay.
tell because the art there is so much better than the art in Dream Warrior.
Okay.
I also worked with a composer who actually plays Renaissance fairs, and he actually studied the lute in university. So that one has a lot of input from a lot of different people, but the other ones are mostly just me.
I see. Was it hard, by the way, to find the right people for your vision?
Uh, it was surprisingly easy.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of shocked.
Okay.
I had like a list of artists, and it kind of didn't pan out. And then a friend of a friend said, "Hey, I'm friends with an artist. She's a generalist, but she can do any style." And I'm like, "Okay, sure." And it turned out she did probably better art than any of the other people I was looking at. So that was just amazing.
I see.
And then as for the composer, I was on like the Reddit game dev community of all places, and someone said, "Hey, what are developers looking for in composers?" And I replied, "I'm actually looking for someone who does early music. Nobody does early music." So then that guy showed up in the comments and said, "Hey, guess what? I play Ren fairs. I study the lute. I know a little bit about early music. So we got to talking, and he did the soundtrack."
Okay. Okay. By the way, do you believe in perfect synergy between team members? Like, do you feel like it was like a meant to be thing that you found those people for your team?
I would generally say no, but especially with that composer, I'm gonna have to say yes. There were too many coincidences around that one. It just kind of felt like you know, I couldn't have planned it that way. Let me put it that way.
I see. Okay. 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 And so, what skills have you picked up from them that you might, like learn from them as well?
uh, honestly, it would probably take me years to pick up anything from them because they're so far ahead of me.
Okay.
So it was mostly just working with other people. You learn to kind of step back and let them do what they're good at, and I did that, and I was very 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 pleased with the results. So I guess that's the main thing I learned.
Okay. Okay. I see. So, as going back to talk about the games and how you make them into real life and make them happen to that we as players can play them, is it like the story that comes first for your games or the gameplay itself?
Usually gameplay, actually, which is kind of funny because I do mostly narrative games.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to ask.
Right?
Exactly.
But the gameplay and all that comes to mind first, and then I kind of make a story around that. The one exception to that was, I guess, Dreams of Gold, but that one's kind of unique in a lot of ways.
I see. Okay. And so during the development process of all of your games that you have made, what was the hardest parts of making these games?
If we take a holistic view of it, it's the marketing. I cannot do that. I've tried. I've tried.
Someone, or you did like tried to learn by yourself?
Oh, I tried to learn by myself. I sent 126 emails, and I think one of them might have been to you. Yeah. When I was preparing to
your email, by the way. So
hey, I was very happy you replied because most people didn't.
That's sad. And that's rude of them. So.
Well, you got to understand that those people probably get like 1,000 emails in a week, right? And
that's their job, right? They wouldn't have to be that lazy. No, I'm just joking.
But no, I mean, that is something that I think I'm probably going to have to hire someone eventually, because I'm struggling on that front. In terms of developing the game, pretty much anything beyond the programming and the writing gets a lot harder for me, because those are, I would say those are my core competencies. Anything beyond that, like when I try to do art, when I try to do music, it always comes out bad. But it's fun to do anyway.
Is it like because you question yourself, or is it because you do not feel that you are talented enough on those territories or in those territories?
Probably lacking talent and also lacking practice. When it comes to art, I can kind of sort of do it at very small resolutions, like the 16 by 16s tile work.
I see.
But when I try to do the larger ones, it's bad. I mean, look at Dream Warrior. That's one piece
of like, it's not bad. Come on, like.
Well, that's one of the common pieces of feedback I get. Hey, it's a fun game, but
yeah, that's
it
what
looks
I'm
rough.
Always talking about at my dev live shows, and not just at my dev live shows, that people can be so harsh about their opinions. Like, they are so many times putting their real life problems to the table when they judge games, and I hate that. Like, why to compare any of games with the graphical side and aspect of to other games? Like, it's so stupid. Like, I don't
know. I can understand it in a way, because I'm out there trying to ask like $4.99 for a game, so they're like, oh,
I don't know. I still have a mindset of like, it's not right to judge something by its price, especially if it's form of art. Like, they do not know what a creator did to get that game out. Like, they do not understand his past, or how many years it needed to be for him, to get that game out to Steam or any other platform. So in my opinion, it's just not fair. Like, I'm saying this always, that people who complain about the price are usually the ones who are like, very selfish about the money, and like, or do not have money to buy games, which is fine. Like, just don't say it's a bad game. Like, it's it's not the same level. Like, if you don't have the money, fine, but don't say that it's a bad game. So don't say that about you and about yourself and about your games, because I don't like that.
Well, thank you.
Change that attitude for the okay. That will be your homework.
I'll work on it
from today's interview and stream. Yeah. Okay. And so, like, as for the historical game, like, what so if you like will release that game in the future, would you like to update that game as well with like some features that might have not been added or might won't be added for the full release? Are you planning to do that, or are you planning to like
probably we'll see how it goes, of course. One thing that I have done is I've refined the technology a lot making these little games, so I'm actually going to backward all of that stuff over before release. So even though I started that in like 2017, it'll be a little bit more up to date.
So going back to Dream Warrior, you talked about like there is a secret message that no one could find. So when designing, so speaking from that and asking a question from that topic that you have mentioned, when designing your game's balances, like difficulty settings, what was the idea of yours to make the difficulty settings too?
Hmm. So one of the influence of that one was Faster Than Light, which is a notoriously difficult game.
Okay.
So I wanted it to be, hard, but not, rage-inducingly hard.
Okay.
I actually wanted people to finish it so that they might actually find that hidden ending. I judging from some of the early streams, I think I might have made it too hard because a lot of people kind of raged when they got stun locked. So before I released it, I sort of dialed that back a little bit to make it a little bit easier. So I guess I had a different idea in mind about difficulty than the players. So I did sort of fix that based on feedback.
I see. Do you think like nowadays players are more lazier about when it comes to like learn the games itself?
I think yeah, we all kind of are. At least going back to the NES, because those NES games were they ask a whole lot of us. But I guess we're all getting older now. So I mean, even looking at myself, I don't know if I would want to invest a lot of time to learning arcane systems and whatnot. So I did sort of want to address that a little bit, so
I
that
see.
we
But
could
still like
play it
not to
easier.
mess up with your vision, right? So still behind
Right.
now
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
one of my friends just started a playthrough, and he died like at level 2. So it's still hard.
Okay. Okay. So and when you were speaking about the negative comments that you got from the graphical or for the graphical aspect that side of your game, how have it made you feel? Like,
Oh
did
well,
you get very emotional about it, or you?
not really, because I really do understand where they're coming from. I intentionally tried to make it look like a 1986 video game, but I might have made it look a little bit worse than a 1986 video game does look. And I really understand what they're saying. I would love if they liked it, but at the same time, I can understand where they're coming from. It's not really an unfair critique, so it doesn't really bother me too much.
Okay. Okay. I see. I see. I see. I see. Okay. So, by the way, are you planning to release your games, even if it's past game, even if for the future games that we are talking about, for other platforms as well? Because you mentioned that you were pretty much into Nintendo consoles as well, but are you?
Oh yeah, I mean, I would love to be on Switch, but unfortunately, these games are based on the web stack, so it's actually like a website under the hood. Those are notoriously difficult to port to
Okay.
consoles.
Okay.
I will never say never, but I would put that at a very low probability. On the other hand, like a mobile port, I probably would consider doing. Um, because that should be a relatively easy thing. I don't really know about the economics of that. Mobile looks like a hard place to be unless you have a big ad budget. So I mean, I'll have to obviously run the numbers, but I would like to be on mobile at some point.
Okay. Okay. I see. And so, as for your historical game that you're making now, are you like planning to make like a physical book, like with the main choices? Or something like that,
That's
because
a
that
great
would be,
idea.
yeah, that would be very interesting, right? To have a physical
Yeah.
book, like a promotion as well, so people can
Mhm.
buy it like limited numbers.
Maybe I'll run a Kickstarter for that. see if
You
there's
should,
any
yeah,
interest.
you should, yeah. Like it's a very
That's a
unique,
great idea.
it's a very unique, like graphical, and fresh experience as well, in my opinion. And I only had
Well,
like
thank you.
I only saw one game that was very similar, but it wasn't like on the historical side or on the graphical side, but it had like an aspect of like choices, and you could learn like English and German language if I'm correct.
Mm.
So it was like more.
Was that Pentiment? That was Josh Sawyer's project.
No. No, this one was very like base colors, like 5 or 6 colors in the game, and then
Oh,
it
oh,
was just like highlighted words that you could change in order to make the sentences correct. So it was like a learning phase for kids, more
oh.
of
Okay.
that. I'm not sure what the name of the game was, but I'm sure that it was released like 1 or 2 years ago on Steam. I remember seeing the trailer, and it was like a very good game in my opinion, in order to like learn the languages. But of course, nothing more. So it wasn't like a fun game, in my
Ah,
opinion.
yeah.
But it was good, like if you want to learn a language. But as for the part where you can like change, actual options and choices with the words, it like resonated in some way to your game. So
Yeah, I
I
could
like
definitely see that.
that mechanic. Yeah. Okay, so and as you mentioned as well, that you still have like a list of games that you would like to make.
Yes.
So what would be your favorite ones, if you could mention some of those, if without a
Hmm.
spoiler, of course. So don't.
So, Uncharted Waters was a historical-ish trading game that also appeared on the NES. They were on the SNES as well. What I really want to do at some point is to make that with procedurally generated maps.
Okay.
Uh, so it actually is a different world every time because we played the world map. You know where to go. The spices are in India. you know how to sail there. But what if you didn't know those things?
I see.
I think that would be a very interesting game, and that's probably the one I would want to do most. But it's just a matter of timing.
Okay. 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 So, by the way, going back to what you said about the historical game of yours that you're making, that there is a randomized method of choices that you can make. So, what or how could you balance the fact that if you have too many options of choices in the story, it becomes like relevant to like, not even to history, but like non-relevant to the story itself. Like if I feel like let me get this straight. I feel like if there are like infinite options to a story, it won't have like that weight, in my opinion. So how could you balance that?
Well, that's actually a wonderful question because I've written about that before. So there are a handful of values, basically your relation with the peasantry, your relation with the
Okay.
church, and so forth, that govern basically all the events you get. So all of these, hundreds and thousands of choices. Largely influence those stats. There are some other ones that they influence as well,
Can you
but those are
check
the
those
main
stats
ones.
during the game, by the way, somehow?
Yes, they are on the left hand side of the
Okay.
screen at all times, so you can just know at a glance where you stand.
Okay.
Alexis Kennedy called that. He did Sunless Sea, Cultist Simulator, Book of Hours, a couple of others. He called that system resource narrative. So basically, the narrative influences the resources influence the narrative, and you can kind of flatten all of those thousands of choices into a relatively small number of features. I'm trying to use that there. So it's all balanced by way of those stats. And like I say, there's loads of other stats as well. It's just those are the main ones that balance the entire flow of the game.
Okay. Okay. I see. But can it happen that there will be like outcomes of the story that you might, not even realize that it can happen? Like very weird outcomes of the
Oh
story
yeah,
because
yeah.
of your choices?
Yes. Those would probably be
Like,
the
for example,
minor
very funny
stats.
ones, for example.
Yeah, I should put some more funny ones in that one. I think I used all my humor writing in Dream Warrior, but um, like if you max out certain stats, you see different choices, different ways to handle events because they're gated by stats. Um, so if you really make a character who focuses on one thing to the exclusion of everything else, you will see totally different outcomes, even on the same events. So you might not know that's there unless you go looking for it.
I see. Okay. Would you like to also have like this stat option that you can, for example, like compete with other players who played through the game, or see which player uh, made what kind of choice, or see the stats of other
Hmm.
players, like a
Uh,
leaderboard or something like that, or just a percentage, how many percentages of a player chose that road, like in other
you
similar
know
games
that
of choice based ones?
that is a good idea to show the percentage, because I would actually be interested in that data myself. But at the end of the game, it's kind of like you are judged on the life that you had. So basically, you could compare that to other people. I have this whole system of titles that you can get. The great, the terrible, that sort of thing. So that would probably be the closest thing to a leaderboard. But I'll have to think about that. The percentage of the rare choices, because that could be very interesting information.
Yeah, not just for you, but for the players as well.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah. They can compare.
People like to.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. They can compare to each other if they have chosen the right path or not. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so going back to Dream Warrior, have you also like planning to add any updates to that game as well? Like,
Yeah, actually, I think this has been announced, but there's a turn-based RPG fest on Steam coming up.
okay.
So I'm going to be making a nice content patch for that.
Okay.
Hopefully, people like that. One thing that I mean, I intended it to be a short game from the beginning, but some people, I think, want a longer game. So I'm kind of kicking around an endless mode, kind of like the Farmstead in Darkest Dungeon. If you played that,
Yeah.
you can just have wave after wave after wave, as long as you can keep it going. I think I'm going to try to do that for Dream Warrior.
Okay, I see. So, and as for designing the monsters, which monster was your favorite to design?
Probably the slimes.
Okay.
Just because that was a classic for Dragon Warrior, and I wanted to make my own version of that. And then that was the first ability I had, was the acidic slime that sprays acid on you, which ended up being part of a joke. So yeah, I enjoy doing the slimes.
I see. Okay. And so, as you mentioned that like you wasn't like into making games from the very first period of your life. So, were you working in like IT field or something close to IT or game development, or was it way different?
It was way different. Interestingly, I never actually studied programming. I just was self-taught, so I've worked all kinds of weird jobs. But
I see.
I have done contracting in programming, but
I see.
as for actually working in the field, I have not yet.
I see.
Maybe in the future, after I give up on this game dev thing.
True. Okay, and you mentioned that you were learning everything by yourself. So you never thought that you like would a mentor would like to have a mentor for you, like when you have some questions, for example. Wasn't it hard without a mentor for you, or did you have a mentor?
I actually didn't.
Okay.
Back in those days, the internet wasn't quite as developed as it was now. So basically, you get the book and you read it and hope for the best. So that's what I did.
I see. Okay. And if you could go back in time, like, would you like to have a mentor rather than just learning by yourself?
Yeah, that probably would have been helpful. I'm just incredibly stubborn to a fault, and that was definitely a case where the stubbornness did not help me at all. If I could go back, I would say, learn JavaScript earlier and stop messing around with C. You'll waste years of your life. But I can twiddle bits now, so that's cool.
True.
I've never done embedded, even though I know C. It's stupid.
Okay. Were there times, by the way, during when you actually like started making your own games and seeing the results of making your own games, when you like wanted to give up and then not making any?
I've thought about it.
Okay.
I've definitely thought about it. But at the same time, I just love making these things, so I always go back to it.
And what made you being motivated during the process of making your own games?
That's a very good question. I could not begin to answer it. It's just it's more of a compulsion than a motivation.
I see.
It just kind of I do it. I cannot tell you why I do it.
Do you feel like you would regret if you would not took the first step? and jump right into like making games?
Yeah, yeah. It's one of the few things I can do that people actually are interested in experiencing. So I guess that might be part of it if I had to try to boil down any sort of motivation.
I see. I see. Okay. Okay. And do you feel like you, by making games, you found yourself and your inner child, your childhood?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, ultimately games are a playful thing, even though some of them are serious. It is ultimately a playful thing. So yeah, I really do think it does channel that.
Okay. Okay. So and as going back to your past before you started like making games, when you stepped into the world of making games, were your like family and friends supportive about your decision that you now are switching to a more unstable territory of your life, that you are into making games and you really are thinking it for sure that I want to do this? Like, was it
Yeah,
hard for them
yeah.
to understand?
They pretty much understood that I was going to do that, one way or the other. So yeah, they've been supportive.
Okay, I see. And so, thinking back through your memories, what could cause that you haven't like started making games earlier? You just always touched a little bit into this territory, but you never like finished any game, or you, if even if you finished, but you did not went into making another one.
Yeah, so it's always the next one is going to be the one, right? That's the perfect one. All the problems from the previous one, we can just put those aside and do this new good thing. I fell into that trap for years, and in that time, like I say, I finished 2 games in like a probably 10-year period, 15-year maybe if we're counting. Uh, After I started on DGR. So I think that was my biggest stumbling block was just trying to do it all better the next time, and that just never happened.
But why do you say that? I don't really understand why do you say that. Like your games, in my opinion, are great, and we can especially I can see the progress that you made throughout those 2 games. I haven't seen your past games, of course, but like your ideas are,
Yeah.
are refreshing ones and good ones. So don't say that,
Well,
please.
well, thank you.
Don't
Well,
say
I've
that.
got this. I've got a hard drive filled with like half finished games.
You
It's
you
mostly the ones that I'm
you
talking
should you
about.
should you should finish them and release them. Like, come on.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Nice, 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 nice. So those are added to the list, right? So the list will grow with those games. We can say that.
I hope they figure out the life extension technology because
Yeah, hopefully,
I've got a lot to do.
hopefully, yeah, yeah, yeah. So can you see yourself for the future as you making games like for years and years from now on?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my as we've discussed before, like these days, I'm pretty much a full time caregiver. So I mean, I've got time. I don't have like huge blocks of time like I used to, but I've got a lot of time. So that's a way that I can productively use that time.
I see.
It's either that or I'm just trying to do some contracting. So you know,
And how do you
hope
manage to balance your time to have time for everyone and everything in your life? Like,
I don't. um, I kind of let the social stuff slide a long time ago, and that's fine. Um, so I basically just
but
do
it's
what I
still
have
true
to
because
do.
you are here, right? And we are talking, so don't say that.
Right.
And we are promoting your game as well and talking to other people as well, so don't say that.
Yeah.
More confidence, man. More confidence. Homework for you.
Yes. I'll add that to the list too.
At your list, not just games, but
Yeah.
confidence, building confidence.
Yes.
Okay, okay. So we talked about a lot of topics. So okay, so let's which is also interesting for me, that when choosing your music for Dream Warrior, what was the idea for that?
So that one was actually the opposite of the previous game. When I said, hey, I'm looking for early music. Everyone does chip tunes.
Okay,
This time I'm like, hey, I need chip tunes. Let's just go and find some good ones.
okay,
And luckily there was some on itch that was permissively licensed. I think it was Creative Commons by, and I've of course listed the composer in the credits. And it was very high quality. So I'm like, hey, yeah, that's that problem solved.
I see. Do you believe, by the way, by you talking about this, that if there would be a bigger opportunity for these people who are putting assets out there, and there were more mentors who would be able to pick up their talents, by that they could work for more companies and get more jobs?
I really hope so, because these people are very good at what they do. So if there's any additional awareness that I can add to that, I mean that would be great. Because yeah, I mean that is a good way to advertise yourself. Actually making assets that show up in games, right?
True, 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 true. And why do you think these people who make assets are like not working for companies, or for example not or they might have tried to work for companies, but we are more seemingly see that these people are hired by people like you who make games, and they find their workplace by that reason. So what could be the case behind that? What do you think?
Uh, Probably just the difficulty of the industry.
Okay.
There's one position, 1,000 people apply. So what do you do? So I mean, if you're a good composer, you might just compose just so you still compose, and even if those assets end up on itch or something, or open game art, or another marketplace or something like that, just to keep you working. But I really do hope that most of these people can pick up some good paid gigs, because they are talented.
Okay. See. And so, as you started making your own games, what would be the advice of yours if anyone would, wants to follow the same path and make their own games?
Yeah, so what I did was I wanted to make, like I say, the perfect game, and then that just didn't happen. If I could go back and do it again, I would do what I did last year and make a bunch of little games, but actually finish them. Join game jams, or even just make little ones on your own, and then just go from beginning, middle, end, and then a release. The whole thing, because you level up your skills so much more quickly by doing the whole thing than just doing half of the thing 10 times. So that's what I would say. Do jams, just finish games, release games, get them out there.
Okay, I see. By the way, if you happen to make mistakes, which hopefully you do not, but if you do, you always go back, to realize what mistakes have you done, and learn from them. As for game development.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, there's tons of ways to do that. Like I've tried a lot of things that didn't quite work out,
I see.
and that's probably one of the best learning experiences.
I see. Okay. Okay. I see. And so, as for the future of your game development, what skills would you like to pick up as well?
Hmm. I mean, it would be nice if I could level up my art just a little bit, because there is so much that I have to do, and
See, I was telling you, you love art.
yeah,
Just the
yes,
first step needs to be done again.
right. Um, and even just putting stuff on these stores, you have to constantly be editing images.
Okay.
So I really could level that up, and that would be a very useful thing for me to do.
Are you planning to do that, although?
Uh, I'm going to try a little bit more on the pixel art. We'll see. We'll see where that goes, because that would be a really nice thing to have in my tool chest. But we'll see if I get there. I'll give it a shot.
Okay, I see. I see. And so, how do you feel about the gaming industry in general? Become mainstream, because like you mentioned that you grow up with these old school games, and you appreciated this time of yours with these old school games, and you also put the difficulty up, respecting those old school games. So how do you feel about this mainstream generation of players and video games?
Yeah, it really is different than things were in the 80s and 90s. there's good aspects, there's bad aspects. I think in the main, it's probably better that more people are playing than fewer. Because the more people there are, the more little niches that can flourish. So I'm happy that the industry is bigger. It's just I'm now going to hang out in the little niches rather than the mainstream. So yeah, I mean, I think it's good overall, even though it's a very different thing than it was when I was young.
Don't you miss that a lot of hardcore players were out there in the old school era of video games, and now it's like
Yeah,
more casual gamers?
yeah, yeah, and like a consequence of that was there were fewer types of games being made, especially like in the NES era. Because there was like one category, and that category was gamer. you know, now there's loads. Even though that means that some of the hardcore stuff isn't mainstream anymore.
I see. I see. Okay. So as going back to the game that you are working on now, are you planning to add a narrator as well? I was wondering about that.
I'm gonna have to say no on that one because of dynamic text.
Okay.
Because I'm procedurally generating all of these places and all of these people and all that sort of thing, I would have to record so many lines that would just be prohibitive. Maybe text to speech gets there. I don't know. It's not really there right now, especially since a lot of this, Anglo-Normans, they spoke French, so there's all this French stuff with the English texts. I think it would be a disaster if I tried to use text to speech right now. So probably no narration.
Okay, I see. So you were also talking about that you love history. So here comes a more difficult question for you. That why do you think like people are or at least let's say human beings are not learning from history itself?
If we could figure that one out, I think the world would be a much better place.
Okay. True.
Yeah, so I couldn't even begin to speculate on that one because you see the same things. I think the saying is history never repeats, but it always rhymes. So we see the same scenarios played out over and over, and their various small variations. What can you do?
We could make a randomized future, right?
Yes,
like
there you
your
go.
game. I guess that would work, and we have to choose every one of us. That would
Yeah,
make sense at the end of the day, even with jokes, right?
yeah, maybe we could come up with like save files first so we can try it
And go back.
and go back and
Yeah.
yes, when we make the wrong choice.
Okay. I see. And so when like choosing the engine that you work in as for your games, what was the influence behind that choice?
Yeah, I think I touched on this slightly, but I started with C. And C is a very low level language, closer to the hardware, that sort of thing. Very, very powerful, but it doesn't have a lot of the niceties. So I spent years of my life trying to make a good UI system that is cross-platform using C and Lua, and I guess I was using Allegro in those days to put graphics on the screen. SDL is probably what I would use now. So yeah, I wasted years of my life doing that, and I just sort of had a moment of clarity, and I thought, what in the world am I doing? So I ran all the way to the web stack because all of the stuff I was spending years doing, I get for free with CSS and HTML. So I'm like, you know what? Okay, I'm just going to use this. I need boxes with style text and some pretty graphics on them. It does all of this. I don't have to do anything. It's great. And then I just started making games instead of making an engine. So that's how it came to be that I was working in the web stack.
I see. Okay. And do you think like by you said that you were wasting time for years with C language, do you feel like even though it was a waste of time of yours, but you still like learned from that experience a lot that you could use in the future projects?
Oh yeah, I like to say that my superpower is I can write C in any language. It's sometimes bad, but it works more often than it should. And then, after doing that a while, I actually bothered to learn the language I'm writing. But yes, C taught me a lot of things. Also, not having to do the stuff you have to do in C, like manual memory management and that sort of thing, makes me appreciate those other languages so much more. So instead of being angry about what the language is, I'm like, wow, look at all this that the language does for me. I love this language. So, yeah, I definitely did pick up some things from doing that.
I see. Are there, by the way, any other languages that you would like to learn in programming?
Um,
And if yes, why?
Yeah, so I've meant to go back and learn C sharp. That's something that just I haven't learned yet, and I probably should. That's of course a main language in Unity. I think they use it in Godot also, but it's kind of like a better Java. C sharp is. So that would be a useful thing that I could know that I currently don't.
I see. Okay. And so, as going back to you talking about your games in general, so I believe that every creator has, a message that would like to give out to players, even if it's not intentional. Is that true for your games as well, in general?
I'm sure some of that comes through whether I'm meaning for it to or not.
Okay.
But I think it's very specific to each game rather than kind of like an overarching thing that I have in all my games.
Okay. Okay. And if you could mention what message uh, could was or will be in your next game and was in your past game that you have released not long ago,
Uh,
or
so I
without
mean,
spoilers, of course. Like
yeah, without spoilers, like I say, with Dream Warrior, it's ultimately hope.
okay,
Um, with with DGR, it's I kind of want to have that one be about choice, which seems like a really silly thing to say because obviously it is a game of choice, right? But being able to actually change things based on what you think and do. Um, that's probably what I want to come through with that one. Um, if you get the special ending of Dreams of Gold, that one is don't go into game dev. uh, but like I say, that was a therapeutic project. It might have come out a little bit harsher than I intended.
I see, I see. Okay. And so, as for the choices that you were talking about, that we can actually change the story forward with our choices. Like, do you feel like that idea of yours became into making a game since you wanted to change something in your past that you felt like you are not happy with?
Hmm. You know, I try not to think too much about the past. It's
Okay.
that's kind of funny to say after I say I like history, right? But like my own personal past, it's like what one thing I look at is what's done is done. So I don't really dwell on
Yeah, but you're interested in
what I
choices. That's why I was asking. So you feel
yeah
like
yeah
even
yeah
if you don't want to go back, you are still interested what could happen, right? So at the back of your
right
minds.
yeah I'd like plan out different scenarios if something went different. That's definitely something that you can do when you think of those sorts of things.
I see. I see. Okay. Okay. We actually talked about a lot of topics. So before I ask you a bit more, and we also go into like asking or having some questions from my community, do you feel like there is any topic that we haven't discussed and you would like to talk about, even if it's your game, even if it's game development, personal experiences?
Hmm. Um.
Feel free. Feel free.
Yeah. I think we covered a pretty good range of things.
Okay. Okay. Okay, let's switch then to people from the stream. Let us know if
Okay.
you have any questions. Let us know. Hölgyek, urak, hogyha bármi kérdés van, akkor nyugodtan kérdeztek. Let me watch back over. I needed to bigger up my chat because I couldn't see the comments actually. Let us know. Let us know if there is any question. Let us know. me scroll down to the top. Hölgyek, urak, bármi kérdés? Bármi kérdés, hölgyek, urak? What is your favorite time from historical times, by the way? If you could mention one or more, and why?
Yeah, so probably the High Medieval period, centered on 12th century.
Okay.
It's far enough in the past that things are different, but not so far in the past that
Okay.
it's completely alien to us.
Okay. And would you go back to that era of life if you could?
Absolutely not.
Okay, but why?
I liked my soft modern life. I don't think I'm hard enough to make it in the 12th century. I mean, if I could go back and be the king, that would be great. But I'd go back and be a peasant, and that wouldn't be very fun.
I see. Okay. Thank you for that.
Of course.
Hölgyek, urak, bármi kérdés? Any more questions? Let us know. Let us know. I know it's late on my end, but let us know. Thus, you became like a developer yourself. How your perspective have changed on games if you play them?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a lot more interested in the mechanics now.
Okay.
Instead of just experiencing the mechanics, I now think about every little thing that's done. Another one, and this was actually kind of like a meme on the internet at one point, is they took a screenshot from a AAA game, and then they had little price tags attached to each little texture and all of this, and you just start to understand how much human labor goes into these things. And until you're kind of like on the development side, you don't really appreciate just how much labor every little thing in a game is. So those are the two things for me, I think, that changed.
I see. Okay. Hölgyek, urak, bármi kérdés? Any questions? Wake up from lurk time. Let us know. Are you in for the games, by the way, when you play them, as for their stories or for more their gameplay? Because you told us that like when you design your own games, it's like always the gameplay comes first and the story comes after it. So is it true when you are a player and you're reviewing games and consuming games?
It's pretty close to 50-50. For I guess most games, I look at the gameplay first, but then there's other games that I really enjoy that are only story. So I guess it depends on what I'm in the mood for.
Okay, I see. And were there like games in the past, like for example 5 or 6 years or 10, that's influenced you so much that, for example, it really like changed your perspective on real life?
I mean, maybe it's a little bit before 10 years, but I go back to King of Dragon Pass. I like to say I never really recovered from playing that game because it showed me what these things can be, and that just like I didn't look at any other game after that the same way.
It's really like Final Fantasy X for me, which I play through every year.
Yeah.
Go for that, by the way. Sorry for interrupting. Go for that.
Oh no, Final Fantasy X is great. I've played that one a lot too.
Yeah, but you started to say something before I interrupted.
Oh yeah, yeah, no problem. It's basically it's one of those games that I think was before its time because that actually came out in 1999.
I see.
I didn't play it until some years after that when it arrived on GOG, but I don't know. That's just something that that's a lens through which I look at every other game, which might be unfair, but hey, by the way, go play King of Dragon Pass if you haven't. It's on every platform now.
Okay, nice.
I'm not getting paid to say that.
You will have to like find promoters for your game as well, like this, right? So I will do that for
Yeah.
you. I promise.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I do try to advertise David Dunham's games more than my own sometimes. He made two more after King of Dragon Pass. The Six Ages Ride Like the Wind and Six Ages Lights Going Out. They're very similar. You should play them.
Maybe they will do the hard work for you, and sometimes they will realize from this interview that you promoted their game.
Yeah. Well, David Dunham's one of the nicest guys. Yeah, I've actually talked to him. He's a good guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Through a weird series of coincidences, I ended up being the moderator on the Six Ages Reddit.
Oh, okay, nice.
So I actually tried to give him moderation because I'm like, hey, I guess this is a conflict of interest, because our games are similar. He's like, oh no, you keep it. I don't want it. So but no, he's the nicest guy in video games.
Nice. Okay, nice. So, and what is the like release date planned for your next game? Like,
I really don't know anymore.
Like still hard work for you to manage to work on that game, but
what I did with that game, which is unfortunate, is I've built it too big and too complicated. So I need good, long periods of time to work on it and actually get forward momentum. I tried working on it recently.
Were there something that you had to cut from that game, by the way?
Oh yeah, I mean, like the biggest one was I had a Crusade interlude, and I really wanted to put that in there, and I cut that whole thing out.
Is it like something that you are willing to put back into your game when it releases, like an update form?
Yeah, I could definitely see doing that.
Okay.
But I had some of the stuff written, but I just had to shelve it, and then there was a matter of art. I couldn't really afford to get like thematic art, so I'd have to use the existing stuff, and that would be kind of weird if we're in the Holy Land, during the Second Crusade. So
I see. Okay. Do you feel like, by the way, your next game could be used as school projects that
yeah. If I would go through and actually cite all of these sources that I've used, and by the way, Pentiment did that. I mean, there's a bibliography. If I would do a bibliography just like Pentiment, then yes, absolutely. I've got
that option, by the way.
I've really thought about it. Yes. I can't say that I'm going to do it, but that is something that I would kind of like to do.
I see.
Just because I've got all this research, I might as well cite it, right?
True.
It's already been done.
It's more fun to have this knowledge for kids by playing a game, right? Than rather just read books. It's also interesting, of course, reading books, but not for everyone. So especially not for today's kids. So
right.
Yeah. Okay. Do you believe, by the way, that with video games or with forms of video games like kids or even adults can be or can have their knowledge ready to consume?
Yeah, I mean, like when I was younger, we had Oregon Trail. I don't know if that's really been picked up. I know edu games is a big field within games. I don't really know what that's like anymore. But the Oregon Trail was a big one when I was young, and that actually did simultaneously teach things and engage you as a player. So yeah, I absolutely think that there is a role for games to play in education.
Yeah, I remember myself when I was a kid that there were like a lot of point and click games, like Disney ones as well. All those classic, Disney movies had these, point and click games, and also there were like Among Us collection with Freddy Fish, if you remember those games.
Oh yeah.
So those ones as well. Yeah, so those were very nice games. I remember them playing as a kid, and I was very upset when I couldn't get through a challenge, but I was sitting there like the whole day at the summer vacation and trying to solve it. Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah.
It was nice. Okay. Okay. Bármi más kérdés, hölgyek, urak? Bármi kérdés? Let us know. Let us know. Let us know. You thought of, by the way, any topics that we haven't discussed you would like to talk about?
I'm really bad at coming up with good topics.
Don't say good topics. I believe every topic is good, so don't be afraid to bring it up. Like, let me know. Let me know if you have anything that came to your mind to talk about.
I'm thinking.
Okay. So you mentioned also like bringing your games to mobile phones. Do you see the problem that like mobile players are like whole different kind of players who
Oh yeah,
wants other type of games like?
that probably is the biggest problem because on mobile it's the casual games that you can just pop in for 5 minutes and then put down.
Yours is a hardcore one, so
Right.
you don't
if I would
force them
put
to throw their phone into the toilet, right? So
they might, and then they send me a bill for their phone.
or the
But
company will hire you because
yeah,
they will have to buy a new phone, and it's because of you.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. I'll start working for Apple or something.
yeah.
But yeah, if I put in like autosaves in Dream Warrior, you probably could just play it, for 5 minutes at a time.
Okay.
My other games would be a lot harder to get on mobile, but I do think I probably could, make something enjoyable with Dream Warrior.
I see. Okay.
Even if it results in destroyed phones.
Okay. I see. By the way, are you planning to hire some other team members, some new team members to your team in the future? Like, would you like to expand your team?
Yeah, I mean, in the future, yes. But right now, like all of the money I have is tied up in the art and the music for DGR. So I'm not really looking in the immediate future.
I see.
Dream Warrior didn't quite make the splash that I had hoped it would.
I see.
It's not a game that makes $1 million. It's not a game that makes $100,000. But I thought it might make like $1,000. That was
Can,
perhaps
right? So we will
it
do our
still
best to
can.
promote it. So
Yeah. So had that one gone differently, I might have had a different answer to that question.
I see. Okay. Minnie is saying that we are very cute, you and I, and our interview today is like a very nice touch and very warm feeling. Thank you for that.
Yes, thank you.
Minnie. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm having a great time. Thanks for having the interview.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Any questions, ladies and gentlemen? I know it's late, but wake up a bit and don't just lurk, don't just listen. Use your fingers to type or voice recorder. I don't care. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And don't forget to try and buy the game and also wishlist the new game Dream Warrior.
Yes.
Let me put all of those Steam links again.
Thank you.
Dream Warrior. Let's go. And one. Okay. Okay, there you go. Okay, so let me go back to that we talked about the choices that players will have to make in your upcoming games. So do you think like you only like put options for those choices from historical aspects, or have you put like more moral questions into those options of choices?
So, I mean, even with the moral stuff, I tried to be as close as I could
I
to
see.
the medieval understanding, which interestingly, is not always what we would think as modern people. So, I tried mostly to do historical veracity, but I did have to make up a little bit of stuff that there was just no sources. I try to make up as little as possible, but unfortunately, that is inescapable in some extent. Or to some extent. I mean, there's about 300,000 words in that game so far. So
That's a
some of
lot,
it
yeah.
had to. Yeah, I mean, it's like like a novel and a half. That's too many words. Uh, but
Have you read all of them?
you know, no one person will.
Okay,
I've read them as I type them. A lot of them are mutually exclusive. Like you see one set of them, you weren't going to see the other.
I see. I see. Okay, okay, okay. So, and going back to what I asked before, so do you have like outlined or mapped out choices combined together and an ending that you would do in your game?
Okay, so that's the other interesting thing, and I completely stole this from King of Dragon Pass.
Okay.
Instead of having like a large branching narrative with paths like you would have in a visual novel, right? If you're familiar with playing those,
Yeah.
we have little chunks of narrative content that are relatively small, and then those are arranged based on what's happening in the underlying simulation. And I mean, honestly, the technology that drives that is really just a simple weighted random number selection. But I gate those choices based on those stats I was talking about earlier. So there's really not like paths you can map out. It's just you can kind of play a certain way to influence the likelihood of seeing certain chunks and diminish the likelihood of other narrative chunks. So I think within the narrative design field, that's called the floating modules pattern. Um, I'll have to dig up that link for you too, but there's a whole article about common patterns in choice-based narrative. I would suggest reading that because it's that, and I'm using floating modules. Most people don't do that; they have like the paths. But if you look at the math there, um, you can quickly find yourself having to write hundreds or thousands of things that people aren't going to see. I mean, I'm fine with writing, stuff and people don't see half of it. But if people don't see 90% of it, that's a huge waste. And I want to try to avoid
I
that.
see. I see. I got your point. So it's like, if I'm understanding it correctly, so it's like more smaller stories put together
Yes.
in one line. But are these smaller story parts are connected and combined
Yes.
together? Okay. 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 I
Yes.
got it. So it's like chapters, basically. Let's say, and it's chapter based progress throughout with your choices,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
And then imagine, one chapter starts and you read a certain amount of time, and then you put it down and you read chapter two,
I see.
and then later on you go and pick back up chapter one.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. And it's very true, by the way, what you said about like people are not finishing a lot of percentages of them, especially story-driven games. And it's sad, especially
Hmm.
for creators, to have these, experiences from players and then not finishing their stories. I remember seeing an interview with Amy Hennig, if I remember
Hmm.
correctly her name. She was the story writer of Uncharted 1, 2, and 3
Hmm.
games. And she gave an interview to IGN, if I'm correct about it, that she was talking about that a lot of players did not even play through her game, even if it's like, if I'm correct, a 10 out of 10 trilogy of video
Yeah.
games, and still like so many people, so they were probably so lazy, or not that much into the story, just the gameplay. I'm not sure what their problem was, but it's so weird to see that. So And I'm not saying, because I sometimes, if I do not have the time, I do not play through the game for the first time in one sit or in 1 week, for example.
Right, right.
But I always go back, like, but seeing like people are not playing those games through at all, it's like very weird. And it's true for all games nowadays, especially if they are long games, like for example Baldur's Gate or other games. It's like so sad to see it, like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, for a lot of it, if you do have choice, that does mean, in some ways, picking one thing and not the other. So there's always going to be some things that aren't seen because otherwise we would have to have hundreds and hundreds of hours playing Baldur's Gate to see every single bit of dialogue there.
True. That would be the goal of the developers, though.
Yeah.
So the players
Yeah.
manage to do that, but yeah.
I mean, I'm planning that to be an achievement, is to see 100% of the dialogue and just see if anyone gets it.
So there will be probably people who will complete it for 100%.
Yeah.
Are you planning to add some secrets if they complete?
Oh yes, there's already secrets.
Okay. So
There's lots.
You're a fan of secrets. I love
Yes.
that. I love that. Are they only secrets, or are they also like Easter eggs?
There are some hidden references that I guess you could call Easter eggs, but most of it's just your garden variety secrets. You need a certain condition and a certain event, or it's a rare outcome of something that you won't necessarily see every single time.
I see. Okay. Hölgyek, urak, bármi kérdés? Is there, by the way, any hobby that's influenced game development process?
Any what's that?
Any hobby like?
Oh,
or any side activity?
Other than reading history, no.
Okay.
It just all kind of comes from that,
and what,
I guess.
What influenced you, and how? When was the time when you first realized that you are pretty much into history with passion, not just reading it, but with more passionate about it?
This actually kind of dovetails with the games too, but Uncharted Waters I mentioned earlier. I played that in elementary school, and then in geography class and history class, I got A's without doing anything because I learned it all in the video game, and that was kind of the start of it, because that was fun, and then I learned all of these things, and then that it was helpful in school, so I just sort of started studying it on my own after that. The advent of the internet is another thing. I think younger people don't really understand how big a deal that was, because when I was young, I would have to go to the library and read books. I mean, I'm in my 40s now, but now you can just go and get the Wikipedia treatment, get a nice overview of a topic, and then they will link you sources at the bottom of the Wikipedia article, and then you just run down the sources to get like a full academic treatment of it. And that's just such an amazing thing that's at our fingertips now that we didn't used to have. So that's a big one for me. When that became an option, I just read a lot.
Yeah. Do you think like the case behind it that you mentioned before could be that people got lazy by having all this knowledge over the internet?
Yeah, I mean, maybe they just take it for granted, because before you did have to do a whole lot more work. True. Now it's just a couple of clicks.
Yeah, but I also can see the bad side of it. Like, there are a lot of websites which are selling fake knowledge, so you can
yes.
always like step into like waters which are not true for you, or the
yeah.
topic that you would like to search about. So I happens to have those knowledges too at some point, for example, in video game industry as well, when I was younger, and reading about stuff. So yeah, especially when there are April Fool's joke, and developers like making this April Fool's joke, and you're trying to believe that, okay, my favorite franchise will happen to have like a sequel, but it's not. Like, come on, it's just April Fool's
that's
joke, and that's so annoying. Like,
yeah, I view that as the day that nobody goes on the internet. Just like take a day, abstain from the internet. on April 1st.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And so how do you balance the time between or the mood of yours of between like reading books and making games? So which one is more important for you now when you're making your historical game?
I think at this point I just need to finish it.
Okay.
Before I would have said, doing the study. But at this point, it really, really needs to be shipped. So I just need to focus on that part of it.
Okay. Okay.
Even if I have to reduce the rigor just a little bit on some of the research. I'd rather not, but I really need to ship this thing. It's been going for so long.
I see. Let me know when it's finished, and we can talk
Oh,
about
yes.
it as well. So I'm sure.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Nice. Okay. Okay. You thought of any other topics, by the way?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. Let us know if there is any question. Hölgyek, urak, bármi kérdés? Here is your last chance, and after that you will be able to ask on the Discord or in the next episode of ours. But because I'm sure that we'll meet again, and I hope that we'll meet
Yes.
again. Are you
Yes.
then planning to like make games for a lot of years then?
If I can, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so
There's that whole list of them that I want to make, and I'm sure I will make at least one
and
more.
how are you like choosing the games that you would like to work next?
Based on practicality. Yeah, I mean, just like roll a die, get like a D100 or something, because there's about 100 of them now, right? but no, it's like the biggest one is practicality. Like, what can I do? Because there's stuff that I just can't really do that I would like to do, but I don't have the budget. It's not something I could do by myself, or even with one or two collaborators. So I mean, those go to the very bottom of the list, and the things I could probably do myself in a couple of months go to the top of the list, that kind of thing.
I see. Okay. And how many years would you like to like work on your future projects? Like, is that like you want to balance the time that you would like to work on games, or
Yeah, I mean,
don't care that much about how many years are you working on a game?
having like a big multi-year project was ultimately a mistake. I say that now. I mean, if it is really successful, then I'll say, oh yeah, I knew what I was doing. It was a plan the whole time. But I think probably at like a 12-month cycle is probably ideal. That gets you a good balance between actually shipping games and quality, I think. Less is better, I guess, but at least don't go beyond a year. That would be my plan going forward.
I see. Okay. Okay. So and a quick question, because you were talking about that, like you always were motivated by making your games, and you also mentioned that there were although some live segments of yours when you like stopped working on your games for some months. So was it hard to pick up again the game development phase?
Yeah, it's luckily over the years I have gotten pretty good about discipline with commit messages, with documentation, that sort of thing. When I was younger, I didn't, but these days I leave enough of a trace to where I can figure out what I was thinking and then jump back into it. So I would suggest any developers who aren't doing that, maybe to think about doing it, because having any kind of documentation like that is just very valuable. Your commit messages, your like actual written documentation, and inline comments, even variable names will if chosen well, will help you figure out what you were thinking if you have to come back to it later.
I see. Okay. Were there times, by the way, when you were questioning your work? Since
all the time.
Okay. Why?
Yeah. Well, there's always going to be, and I think most people who've worked on big code bases could attest to this. There's always going to be one section where the problems are. And you know, there's good or bad reasons for that, but you will know where the problems come from. So anytime you have to go back there and touch something, you know, it's dread. You know, it's like, what in the world was I doing? You know, who wrote this? Oh, me. You know, uh, anytime that I have to work with that, you know, yeah, I question what I was doing. You know, like, am I even fit to write code at all?
Were there times when you get very stuck in a code, like for weeks or for months?
You know, interestingly, I don't think I've ever been stuck more than a couple of days. That's one thing that I guess I'm fortunate, because I do read stories of people getting stuck for a long time. I mean, I've had like a single bug trip me up for like a day or two, and it turned out to be something, you know, uh, very trivial to fix once I knew what it was. But I guess growing up, like I said, you know, they give you the book and tell you to figure it out and hope for the best. That really taught me to figure out things on my own. So like a lot of people these days use tutorial content, and they get very specific tutorials that teach them very specifically how to do what's, you know,
It's like
a thing.
the book is holding their hands, right? So
Right. And you know, it's even like a whole video series on how to make Pong, right? Like I'm sure you go on YouTube and, you know, tutorial on how to make game, and they will have, you know, like 100 videos on how to make Pong or asteroids.
exactly. And it will take, in my opinion, it will take away their creativity as well. Like they
Oh
won't be
yeah,
able to
yeah.
like make the first moves to experiment with their vision, you know, because they will be afraid more to take risks.
Yeah, and
Having
like they'll show up on like the Reddit game dev, and they'll say, you know, I've copied the code from this tutorial and it doesn't work. What do I do? It's like, well, you know, don't copy code if you don't know what it does. You know, that's a sea change that happened from when I was young and now. So I think that might be. I mean, there's good. Don't get me wrong. That there's good aspects of those 100 video tutorial series on everything. Uh, but I think a lot of people are not really learning how to think their way through problems anymore. And I think that's probably an unfortunate thing.
But it's true not just for making games, but for every territory of their lives, that they are like stuck with the problems, and they fear that they can't control their life, which is in some cases might be true, and then they willing to, you know, put away this option to make the right steps in order to grow as a person, in my opinion. Not just in making video games, like I said, but in everything.
Yeah.
For example, if they would like to, you know, get a higher salary, and for that they have to like study more and study other or learn other skills, they are not willing to do that. Like just stuck in the process and get comfortable with their life, even if they are not happy with their life, which is interesting. But yeah,
Yeah. That is a difficult one to figure out.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, and I don't, like I said, I'm not saying this that I blame those people, because sometimes I was doing the same. If I got like, you know, stuck in the process of not realizing that I could do better and be better at something, but I guess that in some point you have to get to a realization that it's not good for you, and time goes by and you will get more older, and you won't have time to change, you know, if you are very old.
Right.
I mean, you will, but it will be way harder, you know, to learn some new stuff.
Right.
So
Yeah, I'm already seeing that.
me too, trying to
Yeah.
figure that out, to not do mistakes, or even if I do, then you know, change very quickly. Yeah, and learn. Yeah. Okay. We discussed a lot of topics, by the way, and then I appreciate
Yeah.
you joined us today, and
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me.
as well. And I like I said, I hope that we will have another conversation, not just, you know, in private, but in as for our interview as well. I will need some of your minutes, if that's okay to you. And
Okay.
after the stream will go offline. But last time, let's ask the people out there on the stream if there is any question. Today they were more of the lurkers, you know. It's late, I know, I appreciate them lurking, but if there is any question, let us know. Hölgyek, urak, bármi kérdés? Bármi kérdés? Bármi kérdés? If there is not, I will wait for 1 minute, but if there is not, I will have a closing question and also a statement. So closing question, you would happen to be like where you are now, like put out, you know, of yours, what would be the ultimate idea, dream game that you would like to put out? Because you mentioned that there are a lot of big projects as well. Ultimate one that you are like, you know, it's so good and it's so powerful, so many.
Going back to the procedure, like the maps and all that in the Uncharted, probably do that. What I probably couldn't hire procedural generated RPG. Now, there's actually someone on Twitter, Stories from Dragon's Den, and Stories from Danger's Den.
Okay.
Trying to do that with little bite-sized chunks, because then I don't have to do it. That's the ultimate idea that I would love to do one day. The whole procedural generation of an RPG. That game forever.
Don't forget to link me.
Well,
check it, so I will understand what's process behind that, because it sounds very interesting, by the way.
So I mean, like I was, yeah, like the world map and that Uncharted. Well, you don't know where India is, that sort of thing. You don't know if worth buying over on the other side of the world. That would be the value of. But you know, what if it was an RPG, like, you know, you're that kind of thing, but that was what was procedural. Map those enemies, you know, all of that sort of thing. Yeah, that's what I want to do. That's not going to happen right now. So, you know, I Stories from Danger's Den, the most luck possible to actually get that done.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, let's close our interview today with a statement. Let our game. So yeah.
Yes.
That you told us. So now is the
yes. Dream Warrior is a retro RPG that is available on Steam right now. In that one, you play and yeah, there's Gratia Rex. It is a game of a life simulation presented in the form of a manuscript. You can wishlist that. It's coming soon. Soon.
Thank you for watching us. Bye bye. And don't forget to check out those games. Bam bam. Bye bye.